Let's go ahead and get started. We sure appreciate everyone that's here in the council chambers and all those out in video land watching. We want to welcome everyone here. This time I've asked Tyler Jacobson to give us our motivational thought and a prayer.
Mayor, Council, appreciate you letting me share this. So there's a great saying that there's a gentleman by the name of Ezra Taft Benson that gave a quote that said, "Improve your community by active participation and service. Remember in your civic responsibility that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. Do something meaningful in defense of your God-given freedom and liberty." So, good reminder that the job that you're doing is helping good to prevail. So, appreciate all that you do. Our dear kind Father in heaven, we're very grateful to be gathered as a community tonight to try to determine what will be best for those that live here today and those that will live here in future generations. And we ask you to please bless that will inspire the mayor and council as they make decisions, that will help them to know exactly what to do and to have the courage to vote the way that they feel. And we pray that will please be with the citizens of this community and all those that come, that they will feel the happiness and joy that is here. And we are grateful for all the blessings that was given us. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I've asked Councilman Mendenhall to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will the audience please rise and repeat the pledge after me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we've had a kind of a unique situation that happened. We have the Spanish Fork cheerleaders that did something. So come on in. They did something. They got something around their necks there. That's pretty cool. National champions. So I'll tell you what, they went down to, was it Disneyland where you went and performed? Maybe we can have a sportsman come and talk to us and tell us what happened.
Where's Coach?
Where's the coach?
Coach Money.
Falls to somebody.
All right, someone's got to step forward and go up to the mic and tell us what happened. There you go.
Yeah.
I face this way?
Yep, you look this way.
Okay. We went to California and competed at a nationals competition, and we won. So.
What place did you win?
First place. Yep. 13 teams.
Wow.
From all different states. So.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And before that, here in Utah?
We also won state this year too. So.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's awesome. Hey, way to represent Spanish Fork. So what we want to do is start right here and let's shake everybody's hands as you go and just make a circle.
Do a picture first.
Well, he said he got it.
Did he get one?
Yeah, he said he got it. You want another one?
No, he got some.
Okay.
Well, he's only the building inspector.
Oh, geez. You trust him with the camera? All right, you ready?
He's just taking selfies, aren't you? Back there? Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay.
Start right here. Go through and let's shake it and let's just make a line and come through.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Nice work. Way to
Way
represent.
to go. Way to go. Way to go. Way to represent.
Hey, good work. Thank you. Congratulations. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice work. Nice job. Hey, good job. Good job. By the way, hardly anyone gets a standing ovation, so congratulations.
Go right out.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Um,
All right.
did anybody ask me for anything to be pulled up?
Next time.
All right. We love things like that here in Spanish Fork. Love to go down there and represent, just show them what kind of people we have here in town, and we're excited for the accomplishments they made. All right. We're going to go to our employee of the fourth quarter. Who's going to handle that? Well, come on down.
Brandon Johnson, come up here. So I have the honor today to introduce, are you ready to drive?
You want me to pull that up?
To introduce Brandon Johnson to, not the council because you know him very well, but to Spanish Fork City. Brandon's worked for Spanish Fork since I was about the chief. He actually got hired before I was the chief in June of 2012.
But I was a spare pit.
Yeah, I honestly, there's out of all the individuals down at the police station, I was able to be part of every one of their job offers, excluding Jill Thorpe. So it's really good to know that we've selected some great people. Brandon being one of them. If I can get on my soapbox just for a minute, Brandon has been working with our major crimes task force for a few years now. And prior to that, he was our city drug officer. And we're grateful that the council has allowed us to put two individuals that are hired by Spanish Fork into these positions that don't just work the boundaries of Spanish Fork. They work the entire state and sometimes other states and even, honestly, other countries, which is evident by this nomination that Brandon received. Some people say that drugs are a victimless crime. Well, if you find a person that has had a family or friend or an associate involved in drugs and ask them if it's a victimless crime, then you'd certainly receive a different answer. There's even a lot of legislation right now trying to be passed to reduce crime, reduce the sentences and the statuses of our drug abuse and drug use. And one of the things that they're saying is it's because it's a victimless crime. That's not so. There's many victims that are touched because of those that use drugs. People often ask me, what is the biggest crime in Spanish Fork? And right, honestly, it's property crimes. But the people that commit the property crimes are those people that are trying to get their next fix for their drug. They're trying to get the money for the drug. And so Brandon has been dedicating his time, is it 5 years now with both assignments?
Almost 4.
4 years now. And he's been doing outstanding in each one of those years. But this last quarter, he was nominated for some things that he did just recently, but that doesn't showcase all that he's done. He's done a lot. And I'm hesitant in saying names of cartels of what he did this past quarter to get him to this nomination, just because of it's a evil world out there. But know this, that he has had an effect on cartels. And those people that who have received drugs didn't because of his actions. Some of the pictures of some of the stuff that Brandon has seized over time is going to be flipped through the screen there. But he has seized thousands of dollars of heroin, more thousands and tens of thousands of dollars of other drugs. He serves, on this particular nomination, he served several warrants on houses, on cars, on people, and was able to obtain some good cases out of that, and put some bad people away. And even bad people back to their home countries. And so he's done an excellent job as supervisor. Sergeant Phil Nelson and Lieutenant Matt Johnson, they watch his actions. And the only time that I get to see Brandon, because he's usually a night owl, is every now and again we'll cross paths in the gym. As you can see, he works out more than I do.
Not the right areas.
But Brandon is a great employee. And it goes without saying that the only way that Brandon can do his job is, having good supervisors and co-workers, but more than that, having a good family. His family, his daughter and son are here, and Jody, his wife, and that's what counts, is having that support. And but Brandon's done a great job. I congratulate him on this last quarter.
Now you get to come back for the fun stuff right here, Brando. Right here. Yeah, mom and the kids, come on up.
We do not consent to any photos.
Yeah.
We can take the award.
Let's scoop down a little bit.
Right to the middle of
Yeah, come on down. There you go. Covered me up. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
We sure appreciate those who work here in the city, especially in law enforcement, who literally put their lives out there every day for us. And we really appreciate each and every one. And so thank you, and it's a well-deserved honor. We'll go from there. All right, let's go to public comments. Anyone that'd like to come and talk to the mayor and the council, you're welcome to come up here. Just state your name, stay within the 3 minutes. Unless you're representing a few other people, then we'll give you a little more leeway. So, yeah.
Thank you. Neil Fraser, a Spanish Fork resident for 15 years now. And forgive me, I'll probably read the bulk of my comments to you so I can try and stay within the time limit. You'll also have them in front of you there when the son's handed to you. I'd like to speak to you today to represent a group of citizens that are concerned about the future of the Spanish Fork Water Park, and more specifically about having a swimming facility in Spanish Fork. Please understand that I've had a lengthy discussion with Mr. Perrins and with others to try and gain a full understanding of the situation and the upcoming removal of the pool. We believe that we have a pretty firm understanding of the issues and concerns, and my family is doing all that we can to share the information that we've learned with others. But as we've talked to friends and neighbors, we've also discovered that there's a lot of misinformation going around out there. I won't have time to present a whole series of advantages for having a swimming pool tonight, but based on recent information put out by the city, I believe that this council already has a sense of what a swimming facility means to the community. Suffice it to say that we believe that a swimming facility offers many physical and mental health benefits as well as community and social value. And it helps fill the need in the southern part of Utah County where there already isn't enough water, if you will, for the growing population. And the swimming facility has impacted our citizens' lives through a variety of ways, and hopefully many of those stories can be shared in the future. Let me just share a few of my own thoughts. We've tried to gather support for a swimming pool in Spanish Fork by inviting others to write a letter. Some have written a letter and others have promised to, but not submitted it yet. Thus, there are a few letters that I've stapled together, and I believe that these represent a larger portion of our population that understands the need and has a desire to continue to have a swimming facility for a variety of different reasons. And I invite you to read those. Allow me to share my own anecdotal account. When our oldest son was almost 8 years old, my wife who's sitting here behind me, mentioned to me that she wanted to sign him up for the Summer Swim League. I wondered if he could really swim well enough to even participate. All he needed to do to make the team was be able to swim one length of the pool freestyle and swim back one length with a different stroke and not drown. But Brandon would make it.
Yeah.
Well, he barely made it. And he went to the very first day of practice, and he started out in lane 1 of the beginner group, the slowest of them all. He could barely complete any of the drills that were asked of him. And at the end of that practice, he came home in tears because it was hard, and he wasn't sure he would go back. But we encouraged him to keep trying because we knew how much he really loved the water. He went back, and he went back again and again. And through that experience, and by overcoming some other discouraging setbacks, we saw an amazing change in confidence, learning, and growth in that young boy. We've pretty much made all of our kids swim. The 2 boys sitting behind me are our next 2 oldest, because it has been by far the best athletic activity that we've ever put our children in and had them participate in. And we've done almost all of them: soccer, baseball, tennis, wrestling, football, basketball, dance, taekwondo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But swimming is unique in what it offers for growth, development, and confidence in young people. Today, my son is not the very fastest swimmer, but he has developed his skill to the point that he's made the cut to participate in the high school swim meet the last 2 years as one of the top breaststrokers in the state. We know that the Life Center was voted down in 2015, and that was sad for us as we were in the minority that actually supported it. We understand that others have their reasons for why they voted differently. However, I optimistically hope that the landscape in our community has changed, and I know that the circumstances certainly have. I don't know if a rec center is the solution that we need, but it could be, or it could be something else. There are many different opinions about what the city needs or doesn't need. However, I would urge that we not let the past rule out the possibility of moving forward. We understand that the city is already looking into alternatives to keep a swimming facility in Spanish Fork, and we, my family in particular, and others, are willing to engage in that conversation and help bring forth new ideas and creative solutions. There are many arguments out there for why some do not want the city to build a pool or a rec center. However, if we don't, where will our kids take swimming lessons, join swim teams, or work as lifeguards? There simply isn't capacity for all of our kids in the Pace and Provo and Springville programs. I would also suggest that in our digital world today, there are not very many places left where communities and their citizens naturally gather together like they do at the swimming pool. Despite the financial costs that the current or any future swimming facility incurs, it is a valuable asset to the community and pays for itself in immeasurable social currency. I'll finish my thoughts there. There's a little bit more on the paper that I provided to you that are some ideas that have been banging around in my head on ways to look forward for funding opportunities, partnerships, that sort of thing. I would just offer one last technical concept that I feel is valuable, and that is the idea of having 50 meters. Spanish Fork's pool today is unique in that it has a 50-meter length. The next closest pool that has 50 meters is not until you get to Orem. Not even BYU has a 50-meter length pool. So I would just offer that as a technical addition to the need for a swimming facility in the city. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up. All right, anyone else that'd like to come up and address the mayor and the council?
We have one that's on our agenda.
Oh, yeah, we'll come back to that after we get down here. Thank you for reminding me of that. It's not on our thing.
My name is Kaylin Sly, and I am a lifeguard instructor at said facility. Several things that they left out is the importance of a place to have a first job. And the Spanish Fork Water Park provides first jobs to many people in and around your community. And having seen both first jobs and having worked with hiring people in their third jobs, I can tell you that that facility produces some of the best young workers I've ever seen. The emphasis in that facility and the workplace culture that has been developed there over the past decades is one of integrity and initiative. And it would be a shame for the city to lose that culture by letting that facility go and not having a plan in place to continue that culture elsewhere. The impact that you have on high schoolers as they're developing their self-confidence and creating their identity to become workers has no bounds. I routinely, every summer, in addition to teaching life-saving CPR skills, that the next summer I hear about how I was hiking and my friend fell down and I was able to help them, to I watched a person fall off a cliff and I was able to provide stabilization until emergency personnel arrived. These stories don't get heard very often because they're very precious to the people involved. I've also taught 15-year-olds how to use a broom, how to clean a toilet, the importance of cleaning up after themselves. And no, I am not your mother. I am actually, in fact, helping you earn a paycheck to clean that up. That culture and impact on young people is part of what makes your city so great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else would like to come up?
Michael Charneski, resident here. Lived here for going on 17 years now, and just want to voice my support for having a pool, a 50-meter pool. Both my kids have swam and at various levels, and they have having a pool, a long course pool, is, I look at just even purely from an economic impact. There have been years that just us as one family have spent upwards of $15,000 on swim travel. That's just one family. Whether we're going to Portland or in the Bay Area and so forth. So from that, just a purely economic standpoint, there is a lot of money to be made to bring in. As we travel, first thing we do is we go to the store. We stay at a hotel. We buy the stuff when we show up. We go to local community and spend money. And then you've got 600, 700 kids swimming at a event over the course of 3 days. Multiply that by the multiple events that can be hosted if it's a long distance pool. Just the economic impact of it will, I don't know exactly how it compares to baseball, but it's up there. It's an impact, and it's one of the kind of the silent sports in Utah where it doesn't get all the limelight that the more soccer's and so forth. But it's there, and it's a great builder for the kids. Like we'll say here about the first job. I mean, Brad is you could not ask for a better first boss for anybody than Brad. Just he knows how to make grown-ups out of them. I've got one daughter that's already a grown-up. She's in college, and I've got a son that's coming into that, and we are just set on having our son work at the pool just so Brad can be his boss, because he can, that first job you learn things that even though parents try to teach them, it's a lot different coming from another person that does it with kindness and love, and gives them a good place to fail. Right? They need a good place to learn these lessons and fail, and so they can become good grown-ups. So I appreciate your time, and I would just like to voice my enthusiasm for this, and hope that you would continue to support the pool as you have, and make it a long course pool, because there's a lot of money to be made.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we have a special agenda request. Caleb Bullock, would you like to come up here and present your...
So about 2 weeks ago, yes, laser pointer would be perfect for this. Thank you. So about 2 weeks ago, I sent all of you a letter about the possibility of putting in a ride-on train in the Liabilities Park. I know that the city has already been looking into putting in a train in the park, but that it was going to cost too much. I put together some portfolios for you So I'll just hand these out. Basically, all this is it just has, and then it just has the hard copy version of the letter. Some budgeting information. So in there you'll find information regarding the budgeting and possible liabilities and insurance and anything that is mainly important. I only have 5 minutes to go through this, but basically what I'm going to do is share with you the main concepts of the plan and then zoom through most of the minor details that I created. And if you guys have any questions, then we can go over those after.
Will you talk right into the microphone too,
Yes.
Caleb? Just
Sorry.
pull it down.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, there
And
we
all
go.
of the millions of people at home can watch.
Internet land, as
Yeah.
Mayor likes to call it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this initial concept slide, the train down in St. George that they operate at Thunder Junction was going to cost about $500,000 to upwards of $1 million to install. And now the train that I have figured out that we could put in, and I budgeted it all out, we could put in for less than about $150,000, and that includes labor costs and everything like that. There's this concept video that I've included. We don't have time to watch it, but basically versus having the larger size, as you can see right there, that's 18 inches between the rails, we would move towards a 7.5 inch size, which reduces the cost significantly. We took a Facebook poll starting on Saturday. It ran for 2 days, and we had a phenomenal response to that poll. I'll show you the chart right there. You can see that we had about 28 people were interested in helping with the process of possibly constructing the railroad. 38 said that they were not interested or did not want a train in the park. And there were 531 people who said that they would support the idea. Operations is going to be vital to this. You can see in your packets that there is a logo which I've created for a group that would be created called the Spanish Fork Life Steamers. The best thing that I can relate that to would be the Gun Club. So it would be a separate entity of the city that would operate and run the trains and build the railroad, and it would all be under volunteers. There would be a $1 ride fee that would be associated with the train. Down in St. George, they charge about $1.50 per person, and they were able to pay back the train within a year of ridership, and that's the $1 million price tag. So with $150,000, we can very quickly, I am assuming, pay back the costs. There's the logo that I took a little bit of advantage of previous design of Spanish Fork. I hope that doesn't cause any copyright issues or anything like that.
If the chief gets you, be careful.
Okay. But you can see here I took the actual locomotive that's in the proposal that would be used and was able to incorporate that into the logo. A big part of it is liabilities and insurance that's going to be involved with this, being in a public park and being a moving object that people are going to be on. You can see that there's some policies in there that would talk about how old you have to be to ride and items like that. The train would only be operating at a max speed of about 7 miles an hour, and I'll go into some more details about other things that would be an issue. But up in Saratoga Springs, there's another park that's similar to this one that I'm proposing that they have built, and I was actually speaking to an individual who is a part of a group that operates up there, and he was saying that they were paying about $3,000 in insurance premium. Now that's an expense to the city, but that can be covered by ride fare from the train, and also if it could be taken in by the city, that's information to consider. So construction, there's some dates there. This is where I start to go a little bit faster. This is my initial design plan. You all know, given that there is the current release of the plan, that would not work in any way, shape, or form. So this is the current design plan for the park. And then this was my first possibility for train to go around the park. After talking to the project engineer for this, he had stated that it would be too hard to fit around this back part right here because of some inclines and retaining walls and other obscurities that would prevent that from happening. So that right here, this cost of track alone would just be a little shy of $50,000. And all this information is pulled straight from the manufacturer's websites, and I've contacted him and talked to him about this kind of stuff. This is basically what the final version of the plan would look like. So you can see that really the two main issue points are on the sidewalk that goes through the middle of the park, and I have a design plan for that. But you can see that there's a shed up here that would be used to store the train. And I know that the city was thinking about putting in pickleball courts or a wheelchair accessible baseball court or something down in this area right here. And the idea is that if we can squish the train back and around in these corners like that, then you'll still be able to, in the future, when funding becomes available, install those facilities. And then that revised track plan would cost about $30,000, and you're saving about $17,000 on trackage. Here's some construction diagrams that I pulled from the internet, just basically showing how it would be built and dimensions and things concerning it. These are images of Shay Park, so you can see that they have some concrete curbing that's installed around the grass to keep the rocks or ballast, if you will, out of the grass, so then our parks maintenance people will stay happy. And that will cost roughly about $5,000 in concrete costs. There will be a platform that will be installed on the main stretch of the walkway, and it's going to be about 10 feet long, 10 feet wide by 48 feet long. Then there will be some park benches that are installed right there. And the idea is that that's the location of where everybody will be able to board. It's centered nicely in the middle of the park, closer to the entrance, so anybody that wants to come and ride the train will be able to access that a little bit easier than walking further out towards the other edge of the park. Right here you can see, I discussed a little bit about the crossings. Basically what we would do in construction techniques is to accomplish that is during initial construction of the park, we would come in and install the rail while the cement is still wet, and then work with that. There would be some maintenance crossings that would all be installed so then lawnmowers can access this inside grass area with ease, and this will also be a public access so then people can throw frisbees, play soccer, do whatnot in that area. These are some photos of basically what the techniques for laying in those crossings would be. This is concrete, and then there's some wood filler pieces. Concrete is the more preferable option. And then crossing safety, we're not affiliated with Operation Lifesaver, but I felt like it fit nicely with what we're doing here. Basically, the trains would slow down to about 1 to 2 miles per hour when going through the crossing, and would signal their horns and bells before crossing through to make sure that everybody is aware of the safety that needs to be held there. And there would also be signage, and lots of warning things to keep people alert and aware. You can see, it's kind of hard to see, but that's actually a reflective paint line that was installed up at Saratoga Springs as another one of those safety measures. You also note the fence that is located right here along the main walkway, and I'll get to some information about installation of fences. Down between Spanish Fork and Payson, along I-15, there's a stretch of railroad track, which is currently owned by Utah Transit Authority for the possible construction of a front-runner line south out of Provo and eventually to Santaquin. Now, the line hasn't been used since about the 90s, and UTA has actually put up exempt signs on all the crossings south of about the pallet factory in Spanish Fork, because that's the only point at which the line still operates. But basically the idea is that the city would be able to obtain these signs from UTA as they are not being used for any rail services, and install those in the park and preserve history. These were probably installed in the 60s or 50s, as a part of the Rio Grande Tintic branch that goes out to Eureka and Goshen. Safety fences would be installed in concerned areas. This is a park, and so there's going to be lots of kids everywhere. So in all the playground areas, there'd be about 300 feet of fencing installed in critical areas, which would enhance safety and hopefully lower our insurance costs and liabilities. So the locomotive that we would be using is going to most likely cost between about $16,000. There's two options that I've come up with that are possible options for this. The second one is the cheaper version of the two, and it's actually a historic model of a locomotive that operated in Spanish Fork in the 80s. This was the first option. It's the less preferable of the two. And then I'll just go into a little bit of history of railroading in Spanish Fork. So these images down here are of Thistle up Spanish Fork Canyon. If you guys are aware of Thistle, you'll know that in the 80s there was a massive mudslide that came down and blocked the Spanish Fork River, causing a giant flood. The water actually got up to about here. You can see the edge of the mudslide right there. And it was threatening to basically wash out all of the river bottoms and parts of Main Street and a lot of Spanish Fork's facilities down there in the southern part of town. You can see this is before and after photos. Right here is the city offices. This is the older Thurber School before a renovation was completed sometime that I'm not aware of. But you can see this is Main Street right here. This is actually the Utah Central Railroad that ran from Salt Lake City to Payson, Utah, serving all points in between. And you can see that this was way back in the day when Main Street was dirt and a nice concrete sidewalk on the side. Right here, you can see some photos of construction, and these are all out of the BYU and Utah State Archives of railroad construction down the middle of Main Street. This is a stock parade in 1945 traveling down the middle of Maine, and this is a trolley line. You can see the wires up there. They actually converted the line into part of the Bamberger Express, which operated between Logan and Nephi, bringing passenger service to Spanish Fork for one of the first times. And there's some more pictures of the trolley, and then again a before and after. These are actually diagrams. You can't see them very well, but these are diagrams from 1925 of trackage. There is a track that comes off of Center Street and the track that goes up Main Street, and there's spurs that come off. So basically right outside this building back in 1925 there were trains all over the place. And then this is another photo. This would be Canyon Road. This is the Spanish Fork High School before the district acquired it and turned it into its offices. And then these are photos of the engine that we would be using, and basically this is where the windmills are currently today, and this is over on the east side of where Kmart is, and these are other photos of the engine operating the Spanish Fork and serving the area in the 80s. This is an image of the second option for the model, which is the more preferable. It would cost about $20,000 with the full detail package, sound, and everything included to make it a truly accurate model of the engine that we're trying to recreate. And then there's a whole bunch of features of both locomotives that I'm not going to go into and bore you with. But the cars that the public would be riding on are bench cars, and essentially what these are is they're about 8 feet long, and you can fit about 3 to 4 adults comfortably on them. And there would be a total cost of about $8,000 for all those. Oh, that was, pardon me for that. And then right here, in order for it to be all abilities, which we need it to be, basically to sum it up, we would take a jazzy wheelchair seat and attach it to a flat car, so then individuals who are able to get out of their wheelchairs may access the train and there's a seat belt and armrests and headrests and everything, so it's all good. The one down in St. George is a lot more spacious, so it's a lot easier to put wheelchairs on it. I've been drawing up a design with my grandpa, who was the mechanical engineer professor down at UVU for about 5 years. And me and him were talking about how we could possibly make it able so then we could make a wheelchair accessible on the smaller size. And there's that draft diagram. Can't see it very well, sorry. But then engineer riding car. And then this was the initial cost budget, was out of $100,000. And then I did a revised budget as of recently. And you can see that there's about half of the remaining costs and everything's broke down there. And then there's more budgeting information. There's about $75,000 left out of that $150,000 budget. And then part of that $75,000 will go to constructing a storage shed for the train. And then all remaining information will be, costs will be used to pay for sales tax, labor, or anything that's involved in that. But that's basically the gist of my presentation. I'm sorry, that's a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but
We'll forgive you.
Basically the gist. We've paid consulting firms thousands of dollars, and they have not performed that well. I hope that you someday apply for a job at Spanish Fork City. That's all I gotta say.
does anybody have any questions that I can answer for you regarding any concerns or anything involving that?
I just want to give a shout out to you. I've never seen anyone come so prepared. A lot of people will, well, not a lot. We have people come in and complain sometimes, but they don't ever have a suggestion. And both you and Neil have come in with some suggestions, so thank you. Very appreciated. You've really done your research.
Very well done. Thank you.
You've done a good job here, and so obviously these, what we've got with our All Abilities Park, we were kind of under the gun trying to get everything done there now. I would suggest that you work with Dale Robinson, our Parks and Rec.
Yes.
And let's see where we can go with this.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time, and I hope that we can make this happen. Thank
All right.
you.
Hey, thank you for awesome job. You ought to be proud. You and your grandpa ought to be very proud. All right. Let's go down to council comments. Councilman Argal.
Nothing right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just let Chris Thompson gather himself. He's over there salivating after all of that wonderful information. Engineering dream, what he just presented. That was really good, Caleb. Second, say that again. We were able to attend an ambulance banquet a couple weeks ago with all of our, we don't call, what do we call them, Chief? EMTs, right? Not full-time paramedics, but really with the volunteer type attitude behind all of these great individuals, and certainly thankful for that invite to be able to rub shoulders with all of those wonderful individuals. A lot of them have served our community some close to 40 years. And I know I said this last time, but it's really saved a lot of our residents money, and at the same time it's our neighbors that are helping save our lives. So the earlier slide was our responder of the year. What was his name?
It's Gerald.
Gerald, yeah. Gerald got the EMT of the year, and so anyway, just grateful for that opportunity. Water had my first NEBO water meeting. We are putting into some of our groundwater well monitoring requirements, make sure that we're in good shape with water. We'll continue to do that. There's a bill that's going through the legislation right now that I believe will pass, and it's a water banking bill, giving individuals the ability to bank water if they're not using it. And that's an opt-in option. They're not going to take your water, but it gives you an ability to bank your water rights if you're not using them for a time. And I will just mention that the NEBO group that we're a part of was already ahead of that and coming up with something like that when this legislation was proposed. And so again, a lot more forward thinking from this group that we're a part of. I've had 2 water quality board meetings at the state where we've looked at grant funds, awarding grant funds to Millville and Lewiston, and also started discussions about Spanish Fork City again and our future sewer treatment facility that we will be working on. And then start of March, we have a lot of conferences coming up, so looking forward to reporting on all of those, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. We have the Chamber of Commerce here. If Heather Youd would like to come up and give us our Chamber minute. There's never anything going on with the Chamber.
No, not ever.
All right.
So I actually just have a few quick things. We just finished our magazine. We're proofing it. The Daily Herald is printing that for us. So it should be in homes within the next week or so. It goes out to every home and business within Spanish Fork and Salem. Our business of the month is on Thursday at noon. It is Walmart. They have been phenomenal at helping the Chamber. They are awesome to help us, especially with like our Easter egg hunt. They've been great for that. On the 12th, we have a ribbon cutting for Life Balance Recovery. On the 19th, we have our new networking luncheon. It should be up at the High Chaparral. And then on the 26th, we have another ribbon cutting for Rich Cope. He's a realtor here in town. So that's all I have.
Heather was attending the Rotary meeting today as well, so we're getting underway plans for
Ready
the golf
for the golf tournament. Yep.
Appreciate
So
her hard work in that, her staff's hard work too. That's
busy.
That's a heavy lift. To go along with Caleb's theme of locomotives and engines, the economic engine of Spanish Fork is healthy and really the focus of South Utah County. So I would encourage any business that's in the area. We have businesses that are outside Spanish Fork City as well that are members of our Chamber of Commerce, and so I just encourage membership if you are a business looking to connect and network, but also be involved in some really good causes. Look up the Chamber of Commerce and get with Heather. A few of the meetings I've been attending the last week. First, it looks like our active and healthy guys stepped out, but Bronco Hunter was here, and it just made me remember a few of the things that have happened recently in the active and healthy, the Fit City movement in Spanish Fork. If you don't know what that is, Google it. But I'm just so thankful for people like Bronco and the other employed people in Spanish Fork, but also volunteers that step up to help take forward the message of how important it is to be physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. We're teaching QPR classes nearly every week in and outside the city, and the rest of the cities in the state and the state as well are taking note of what that means. And it's not to say that everything is perfect, but again, through that movement, we are helping people through survivor groups. The chief is intimately aware of that, but tough issues in our community, and I'm just so proud of our city that we're not waiting for someone else to try to solve our problems. We're trying to help in any way we can. And as the dad of young kids, of a 13-year-old boy, 7-year-old girl, 3-year-old boy, just tonight epitomizes what Spanish Fork is and what we sing praises about all the time as your elected officials. Young girls that came up here and put their, put training in, put a lot of hours in, and their families sacrificed a lot as well, and take have a state title and a national title, and that's not unique in Spanish Fork. It seems like every other meeting we're honoring somebody, whether it's from the band or baseball or softball or cheerleading, or great young people that are here today that just do their best. And so I'm again grateful for the community that we live in, and just the examples that young kids like mine have to look up to. Again, I'd stress in meetings with the governor's office that I've had recently, that they're trying to tackle a tough statewide problem of mental health. What's been reiterated to me by the governor has been that that we're on the right track, that we're taking a problem serious and trying to do all we can to remedy it. And he's repeated to me it many a times. I think he said it, probably on a campaign trail as well. But he says, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So it doesn't have to be perfect, whatever we're trying to attempt in our life. But just do good, because good is better than nothing. And that's what he's telling us to continue to work on in our community. The Rotary Club has, again, had another meeting today, had a meeting last week, excited for the golf tournament coming up, some of the other things that those good volunteers in our community take care of over the spring and summer. Again, if you're looking for an organization to be a part of, I'd invite you to come out to a Rotary meeting. It's every Tuesday at Macy's. We also travel around and visit some of the businesses in the community as well, and Heather helps us line that stuff up. The League of Cities and Towns, we are just over a week away from the legislative session ending. It's kind of the fast and furious time of the session where different things are coming up. I can tell you, again, speaking from what's went on here tonight, how unique every single community is, how the needs differ and the wants differ from city to city, which is what the League of Cities and Towns, along with my colleagues here that are up there constantly too, and along with city staff, are fighting for all the time, is to basically say, hey, the government closest to the people typically governs best, as Jefferson said. The changes that need to happen, if they need to change, you're pretty nimble when you're local and close to the people. And so specifically those have happened lately on land use decisions, where we make a lot of decisions about what to do with land in our community and applicants and things. And so I just, without getting too far into the weeds, again, just want to let you know that more than every Tuesday night at City Council, your staff of the city and your elected officials are working hard and to preserve that local representation and that local authority when it comes to land use decisions. I think I went through my list, Mayor. That's all I have today. Yep. Thank you.
Great. Appreciate it. Councilman Scopes.
Mayor, the only thing to report with the lapse in winter, or at least a few warmer days, makes us think of spring. Just so you're aware, the Veterans Council is already working on and planning for Memorial Day celebration in the city. They do a great job of that every year, and so they've already started their plans and preparations for that. So that's upcoming. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Beck.
Two quick things. Just to piggyback on what Mike said about the QPR training, I was able to attend my second one, and they are offering them in this council chamber the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. And it was a great refresher. It had been about 6 months since I had been, and our victim advocates, Heather Frost and Susan Chapman, are just great presenters, and good dialogue helps you feel a lot more comfortable with a really touchy subject of suicide. So again, the third Thursday night here at 7 p.m. And then I'm also on the Library Feasibility Committee, and over the last almost 6 months or so, we've been meeting like twice a month. We've come up with parking ideas, different design layout ideas, and so we are ready to have another public outreach, and that will be on Monday night, March 30th at 6 p.m., and that will be at our current library. So there'll be more information on our social media, inviting anyone who is interested in giving more feedback and making sure that our committee is doing what you would like us to be doing. That's all I have.
Great. Last Saturday, Councilmember Beck and I attended the Bills and Bagels. That's where our state legislators came down and give us a report of what's going on up there at the legislature. talk about some of the bills, and so it's very informative, and it's nice to see them representing us. Also, I was gone, I've been gone for the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of interesting. Well, not yet for that, but way to go. I happened to be in a foreign country, and I was wearing my Fit T-shirt that has Spanish Fork written on it, and a couple came up to me and said, "Spanish Fork," and so they recognized. So I was representing our Fit and
That's funny.
city.
'Cause I just went out of town and they told me not to wear my T-shirt.
Yeah, well, there's a reason. All right. Also, when I got back from that, I went to Washington, D.C. to the APPA convention. That's an American Public Power Association. We go around and meet with each of our delegates. Back there, as you'll notice, we have 6 cities represented there. On the left, Mayor Nelson from Nephi, Mayor Kafusi from Provo, myself, Mayor Christensen from Salem, and Councilman Reese, then Mayor Stouffer from Manti, and Travis Ball, who's an electric director. And then on the end is Mayor Christensen from Levan. And we go meet with our delegates. You can flip to the next one there. There we got Congressman Stewart. We talk about our power needs. Mayor Curtis, he was also here last Saturday, had a town hall meeting. Senator Lee, and there's Representative Adams, and what else we got? Any more? All right. There we go. So some of the things we talk about in there are our power needs and what we want. We talk a lot about the needs of especially all the power, but particularly the needs of our power agent, UMPA, and we represent those 6 cities. And some of the things that we're concerned about, we get 20% of our power from hydro, which is from Glen Canyon Dam and also Flaming Gorge. And so there's been some talk about selling those off, making them a public entity, and we aren't particular care for that. And it's a good green energy. You know, we're trying to become green, and as we continue to work to get the resources we need here to provide for our city. We belong to this UMPA for 40 years. Those 6 cities have done that for 40 years, and they've done well. Our goal is in 10 years to be 40 to 50% renewable, and so we're working on that. But we don't need the government to tell us how to do it. You know, we're doing it just fine on our own, and so we ask for the help of our representatives back there in Washington, D.C. And like I told Councilman Gordon, if they just listened to me, we could have every issue solved in Washington right there. But it's crazy back there. Okay, let's go to Spanish Fork 101, Community Survey.
Mayor, Council, good evening, as well as residents here in the council chambers, as well as watching on TV Land, Channel 17, as well as Facebook Live. I'm Scott Aylett. I'm the Public Information Officer for the city, so I'm responsible for information that comes into the city as well as information that goes out. And before I talk about our resident survey that we have going on, first I want to thank those of you who came to council meeting this evening to express some comments and suggestions. We really do appreciate it. And for example, with the library workshop that we had back in November, Stacy can attest a lot of the feedback that we received that evening from 150 plus individuals who came was instrumental in the design so far of the library. So your thoughts, your suggestions, your ideas really do have an impact, and we want to hear those. We have a number of ways that residents can provide feedback to the city. One that's available year-round is on the website. If you go on our homepage under How Do I, you can select Contact. And here's just a general ask a question, submit a suggestion or comment form that gets directed to me, and then I direct that to the responsible department or division within the city. We get a number of these throughout the year and do our best to respond to those promptly. One project that we've wanted to do for a number of years, I think there were even rumors of doing this back when I was an intern in 2013, was an annual resident opinion survey. And we are excited that we now have put more emphasis and focus on this and have it up and running. The best way for residents to access this is on our homepage, SpanishFork.org. Right there on that link furthest to the left, it says Resident Survey. You can click directly on that and it will take you to our survey. We anticipate that the survey will take about 10 minutes for you to take. And this is a great tool for us to learn what are the issues that you as a resident feel are most critical or important for Spanish Fork today and moving forward. We ask questions regarding your interactions with different city departments, with city staff, with elected officials. What have your experiences been with different city services? Do you have any suggestions for Parks and Recreation or SFCN or Public Works? We ask you about how do you want to get your information? Do you get it through social media? Do you get it through the newsletter? Do you get it through SF17? How do you get it and how do you prefer to get it so that we can best communicate to you, the resident, regarding things that are happening in the community? And we want to know what you want to know about. Do you want to know about new business? Do you want to know about new programs? So we really encourage our residents to go take those, about 10 minutes to take the survey. The survey has been up since about Thursday, and we are thrilled that we have over about 620 responses that we've received from residents in the last, 5 days. The survey will be open through the end of March, and so please go take a few minutes, give us your feedback, and we are confident and committed to having this survey be a form and a medium for us to learn what it is that's important to you and learn how we can improve as a city to help meet your needs. We anticipate this survey being an annual thing that will, every spring, we'll send out the survey. We may modify the questions here or there as our needs change, but we want to be able to track longitudinally, right? How do we do over time? How are we improving in our services? How are our residents' perceptions of the community changing? And so, again, we appreciate the 620 residents who've taken the survey so far. As far as I understand, we probably have about 40,000 plus. So we encourage the rest of you, certainly we won't get all of you, but we would encourage as many as possible to take that survey so that we can better understand what your needs are as residents and how we can do better as a city to meet those needs. So thank you again for your time, Mayor, Council, and residents. And again, SpanishFork.org. The link is right on the homepage. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Consent item.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second?
A motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. New business, Resolution 20-04, approving the municipal wastewater plan program for self-reliance.
Okay, this is a required report that the wastewater treatment plant has to turn into the state every year. It's required to be adopted by resolution by the city council. It's the purpose of it is to help you be aware of the condition of the treatment plant and what needs to be done with our sewer system. The gist of the report is with new regulation, there's going to need to be a lot of improvements to the treatment plant. This is spurred by a lot of the nutrient issues of Utah Lake causing algae blooms. And because of that and other issues, the regulation on our plant are rising to the level where we need to really change the process that is used to treat the sewage water, remove more of the nutrients. And so there's a lot of cost to that. And it talks about how right now there is plenty of money to run the plant, but anticipating the new improvements to the plant, rates will need to go up. gradually over the next 3 or 4 years. We've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years, so not any of this is new. In fact, you know most everything in this already, so I'd recommend that you adopt this resolution.
Chris, this is 2019. Is that accurate, or do we want?
Yes, it's for last year.
We're saying
So
it last year. Okay.
this is the report.
Any other questions, comments? If none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-04, approving the municipal wastewater planning program self-assessment report for 2019.
Second. Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Resolution 20-5, authorizing the Public Works Director to execute water leases agreement for agricultural use.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about issues where developers have to pipe irrigation ditches in order to build their subdivision, and a lot of times these irrigation ditches just feed one last farm at the end of the line, and it would be much better for everyone if that farm was just watered with sprinkler systems that are more efficient, or drip irrigation systems which are much more efficient, out of our pressurized irrigation system, and then the ditches abandoned. The ditches first have a liability under our streets. Eventually they will be abandoned, and then as they go bad, they create potholes and problems. But also the ditches, if they can be abandoned, are safer outside of the development, where you only can have a developer pipe the ditch through the development, and then right beyond the development, you have an open ditch where kids can play perhaps unsafely. Anyway, it is our desire to, when it makes sense, to provide a vehicle for a farmer and a developer in the city to not have to pipe a ditch and allow that farmer to have a sprinkler system or a drip irrigation system on our pressurized irrigation. In the past, we've allowed the farmer and the developer to try to hash this out. That has always historically led to a lot of bad feelings, and I believe the reason is because the farmer doesn't really understand the value of this to the developer. The developer doesn't always offer a fair amount of money to the farmer to do this, and the city has to weigh the benefit to the community with the cost to deliver this water. And really, at the end of the day, we're the ones who have the agreement with the developer and the agreement with the farmer, so we really need to just actively stay involved, and that's what this does. We worked really hard to find the right balance, and we went back and forth with both the developer and the farmer to where they're both happy with the terms of this agreement, and we want to use this as the model agreement for future agreements. So we actually have, the next two items is the signed agreement that matches this resolution for both the farmer and for the developer. They both signed it, which means they're happy with it, and so we want to then use that as a model for any agreements going further, and authorize the Public Works Director to just sign those agreements as long as we follow the same pattern.
Right. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution 20-05, authorizing the Public Works Director to execute water lease agreements for agricultural users.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. This is also a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Who did I miss?
Aye.
Scobes.
Gee, sorry about that. Not real sorry, but kind of sorry. Councilman Scobes. That passed. I knew there was one I was missing there.
Do you need like Reese's or something? Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Darn the luck. All right. Amendment to the High Sky Estate subdivision development agreement. So that you've already talked a little bit about that. So if there's no questions on that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the addendum to the High Sky Estates subdivision.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, second by Councilman Scopes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Fred Vincent Agricultural Pressurized Irrigation Agreement, same thing. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Fred Vincent Agricultural Pressurized Irrigation Agreement.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. River Point Development Agreement. Same thing? Chris?
No, this is.
Oh, different. Well, you got up and laughed on me. I just didn't know.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not real sorry.
Not real.
Get it right.
River Point, Mr. Baker's just basically given me an at-bat on this. He did all the heavy lifting, but I'm pretty familiar with the development and the purpose for the agreement. This is a little bit different than some other agreements that we've brought to you to approve, where there's specific provisions here to make sure that the remediation of a construction landfill that was on the property previously is properly taken care of, making sure that that material is identified and disposed of and otherwise placed in proper ways. There is a small part of the property that is in the floodplain, quite small, but the agreement also addresses the need to have that issue addressed with FEMA prior to there being a plat recorded and any building permits issued for that little area. And otherwise just making sure that all of the provisions that were part of the approval that you made for River Point are executed through the life of the project.
Great. Any questions?
Is there a park facility or anything like that?
There's not. There's some space that's set aside because of the adjacency of lots on the north side of the development, the river. So that in the future there could perhaps be a trail there, but that's it. Nothing else. No other kind of recreation facility at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Any else? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve the River Point Development Agreement.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and land transaction.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for everyone that was here, and thank you for the time and effort you've given that. And you, yeah, come on, yes, you.